Another video, another step on an exciting journey. Today I would like to talk a bit about our experiences in starting a YouTube channel. This and more in the new channel update. Welcome to the Softskill channel. My name is Sebastian Jung and I welcome you to the channel update February 2021. As I mentioned in the January update, I'd like to talk a bit about our experiences when we started this YouTube channel, and we will start doing so today. And furthermore, maybe there are some interesting news about the Softskill channel. Let's start with a look at our recent topics. We dealt with the topic of stress in the last couple of weeks, which is quite a nostalgic topic in this channel because stress was the first topic we dealt with. How to deal with stress part 1 to 3 were the first videos uploaded on this channel. And they laid a pretty decent foundation because in them I presented the most important stress models and theories, and I presented the general approaches to stress management. So now we had the opportunity to look at some more specific topics, and so we did. First, we had a look at the so-called effort-reward imbalance, which is a model for occupational stress. It's one of the most important models of this kind next to the job demand control model, and it was very interesting. Another interesting topic was stress and sex. Here I find especially interesting that it is a good example of this process that when we are under stress, we tend to neglect exactly those activities that could help us deal with stress and relieve stress. We get home after a stressful day and we say, "Oh, I'm too tired for sports and exercise. I don't have enough time for my hobbies. I'm too stressed out for relaxation and I'm not in the mood for sex." And from there, things get worse and worse. And I think it's important to know about the problem and to notice it when it arises. And of course, we had another book review, and this time we looked at Wherever You Go, There You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn. A very nice book and a great addition to our video library because it's a book about mindfulness. It is a general introduction to mindfulness, and it is also a practical guide to practicing mindfulness and to practicing meditation. And mindfulness can be quite helpful in dealing with stress, and it is an interesting topic overall, so I'm happy we had a look at that. Now, unfortunately, as some of you might have noticed, we don't have subtitles for this video. Usually we provide subtitles for all our videos, but sometimes there are technical problems because what we do is we upload the video, then we wait for YouTube to automatically generate subtitles, and we download those, and they are pretty good actually. They don't contain any punctuation and they don't contain any capital letters, and of course there are several errors, but they are a very helpful foundation. That is my girlfriend to be exact, goes through them, adds punctuation, adds capital letters, fixes the problems, and this way we can create these subtitles in an amount of time that we can manage, and then we re-upload them and replace the auto-generated subtitles. Now, unfortunately, sometimes YouTube messes up the generation of the auto-generated subtitles. Sometimes, even though we immediately set the language to English and everything, sometimes YouTube tries to create German subtitles for my English videos. So the file contains just a total mess because it tries to interpret English words as German. And unfortunately, there is no way to fix this, no way to tell YouTube to create English subtitles, and even if we re-upload the same video, it will have the same effect. This has happened before in my introduction to minimalism, which also doesn't have subtitles to this day, and now it has happened in Wherever You Go, There You Are. So unfortunately, I'm very sorry, this video doesn't have English subtitles. So, what is to come in the next couple of weeks? So what exciting topics are we to look forward to? We will, in the next couple of weeks, deal with communication and social interaction. I mentioned in the January update that I will provide some more general information about communication apart from our Schulz von Thun videos. And next week we will start that by having a look at the Shannon-Weaver model. The Shannon-Weaver model is one of the most basic and most well-known communication models of all time, and we will have a look at that. And after that, we will discuss meta communication, which is quite an interesting technique and it is quite helpful for solving problems in communication. I originally intended this to be a Schulz von Thun video, but during my research I noticed that Schulz von Thun doesn't deal with that topic very extensively. There is just one chapter in one book, at least in the books I know, and the topic in general isn't that exhaustive that it would make sense to make more than one video, so it ended up being just meta communication without special reference to Schulz von Thun. But there will of course be more Schulz von Thun videos in the future. And of course there will be another book review, and this time we will look at Games People Play by Eric Berne. In this book, Berne describes transactional analysis, which is an interesting method that he developed and that still has some relevance today. It appears sometimes. For example, it makes a short appearance in Schulz von Thun's works. So it still has some relevance and it's good to know about it. And furthermore, in this book, Berne describes a psychological game theory where he tries to explain complex social interactions. Now, if you remember, for example, Schulz von Thun's Four Sides model, there we look at one specific message, one specific statement within a conversation. So it's very specific, a very small scale, and the scale is a bit bigger in Schulz von Thun's Styles of Communication and Vicious Circles, where we look at an interaction, but it is still limited in scope. And here we have a way to look at more complex interactions, and I think this will be very interesting. Oh, and by the way, Eric Berne is a psychiatrist, or was a psychiatrist, same as Viktor Frankl, whose Man's Search for Meaning we also discussed recently. And I thought maybe it would be helpful to mention what the difference between a psychiatrist and a psychologist is. It is actually quite simple. The psychiatrist studied medicine while the psychologist studied psychology. In our day-to-day lives, the difference isn't that important because both might be involved in research, both publish books. We have the books by Berne and Frankl, and for example, Schulz von Thun is a psychologist and he has also published a lot of books, so both appear there. And both can provide psychotherapy. However, the requirements are, of course, different. And an important difference is that because psychiatrists are doctors, they are allowed, for example, to prescribe medication, while psychologists who are no doctors are not. Well, let's finally talk about the cake. We have a reason to celebrate because our German channel Soft Skills Deutsch surpassed 100 subscribers recently, and we are very happy about that. Very nice milestone. I guess for the English channel it will take some more time, but I think we will surpass 50 subscribers within the next few months, which will give us another excuse for another cake. Getting to this point, reaching 100 subscribers in the German channel, it wasn't easy. And this is what I'd like to talk about a bit more. Our experiences when we started the channel. This is not so much intended as a kind of tutorial, because there are plenty of channels on YouTube who do that, and they do it way better than me, but it is intended as our personal experiences, our personal lessons learned. Now let's start with the most important thing right away, which is motivation. No motivation, no channel. If you lose your motivation, the channel will probably disappear after a while. If you are thinking about starting a YouTube channel now, you are probably wondering, should I do it, should I not, and do I really want to, and this kind of problem. But even after you made the big step and really started your channel, and your channel is online and videos are there and you have your first viewer and whatever, even there your motivation will still be put to the test, because in the beginning you will need a lot of patience, a lot of endurance, and you need to be able to tolerate some frustration. You probably remember the effort-reward imbalance, which basically describes a situation where you put in a lot of effort, but there is very little coming back. You get very little reward for it. And this is pretty much the situation you will encounter at the very beginning when you start a new channel, because your videos, they probably take a lot of work, several hours of work, and a lot of passion goes into them. But when you upload your first videos, you will get barely any views, and you don't even dream about likes or subscribers or comments. So this might cause some frustration. Videos are scalable, which is one of the greatest advantages of the medium. Once you have created a video, you can show it to 5 people, but you can just as easily show it to 500,000 people. It just requires additional bandwidth, which is provided by YouTube, so it scales perfectly. But the negative side of this is a video that is only watched by 3 people takes just as much work as a video that is watched by 100,000 people. So in the beginning you are on the losing side of this thing. And of course, a lot of things are different based on your individual approach. For example, some people might put more work in their videos, or they have topics that require more work. For some people, creating a video might take 10 hours. Others might do it in 3. Some people might get 3 views, others might get 20, but still all of them will probably be a bit frustrated for not getting a lot of views and feedback and whatever after they put in a lot of work and passion into videos. I guess our channel did have a rather slow start in comparison to the average start of a channel, though I don't know any detailed statistics about that. We will discuss the probable reasons in later parts of this small series. Of course, it is possible for a new channel to have a really quick and successful start and have a lot of growth right from the beginning, but usually this requires resources that a beginner does not have. Now, one way to have a lot of growth right from the start is if you are already well established and successful in some other social media channel. For example, if you have 10,000 friends on Facebook and you tell them about your new channel and let's say 500 or 1,000 of them check it out and subscribe, of course, you have a lot of subscribers right away, but you need those 10,000 friends on Facebook first. And basically the same applies if you have a friend, if you know someone who is very successful and has a lot of followers on some social media channel or has a big and well-known YouTube channel and he does some advertising for you. For example, he mentions your channel or presents your channel. Of course, this will help kickstart your channel. And finally, if someone has a lot of experience, if someone has created several YouTube channels from scratch already and he knows about everything and he has a lot of experience, of course he will be able to start a new channel and achieve growth more quickly, but this as well a beginner usually does not have. So for the most of us, we are up to a rather slow start that takes some time and that might drag on for a while. And I was partly conscious about this. I knew I would need some patience in the beginning and things would be slow in the beginning, but I still underestimated this somewhat. For example, the big milestones you know about are 100 subscribers where you get the custom URL, 1,000 subscribers where you can start advertising, and then I think 100,000 where you get this shiny medal thingy. So those are kind of the things that are in your head. So you are a bit like, or I was a bit like, oh well, 100 subscribers is the first big milestone and yeah, it shouldn't be too hard. But actually 100 subscribers is not the first milestone. This is really a long way off. The first milestones are really very small things, like getting at least 1 view per day, or getting the first like from someone you don't know personally, getting the first subscriber who is not a friend, or things like that. So this is all, it was slower and more difficult than I had anticipated. And that's the reason I tell you this, because I think it is helpful for you if you do actually start a YouTube channel to know what you have to expect and to be prepared for the challenge. And I'm not telling you this to demotivate you, because our channels are still going and we are still motivated and we enjoy having those channels, and we are happy that we did not abandon them when the going was tough at the beginning. But I think it's important to be prepared, because I know there are countless YouTube channels who have been abandoned after the first couple of months. If you search for anything on YouTube and you scroll down all the way, near the bottom you will find a lot of channels that regularly uploaded videos for a couple of months or even a few years, and then they just stopped. And the most recent video is several years old and you know, okay, this channel has been abandoned. And this is sad, because the creator probably put a lot of work and energy and passion and probably some money into this channel over several months or even years, and then he probably was very disappointed or whatever when he abandoned it. So if you want to start a YouTube channel, be prepared for this slow start. Be prepared that in the beginning you will have to put some work into it and there will be very little return. This phase will end at some point and things get better step by step, and I think it is worth the effort. Well, that's basically it. Now we will deal with this nice cake, and we will see each other next week when we discuss the Shannon Weaver model. If you are watching a channel update, you probably are a subscriber already, but of course we would be happy about likes and comments, and please recommend the channel to all your friends because we want to reach the 50 subscribers on the English channel. We will see each other next week. Have a nice day. See you next time.